Before we dive in, remember, the world is darker than it seems, and stories like this hide in plain sight. If you're drawn to unraveling the truth behind real-world mysteries, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and stay with me. Because this case is about to pull you somewhere cold, lonely, and unforgettable. The search began long before dawn broke over the dry Texas plains. Patrol vehicles crawled across the open highway, their red and blue lights cutting through the fog like restless beacons. Deputies spoke in clipped, tense voices, scanning the terrain as a helicopter thumped overhead. The radio crackled on repeat. Silver alert still active. Elderly couple last seen leaving Panhandle Thanksgiving gathering. No cell phone. Last known direction? Unknown. But what made this case spiral from a routine missing persons report into a full-blown mystery was the location where their abandoned car was finally found. Not on a paved road, not near a gas station, but miles into an isolated stretch of New Mexico ranch land no one could explain. The vehicle sat crooked beneath a cluster of bare juniper trees, headlights still faintly glowing as if begging someone to notice them. Dust covered the windows. No tire marks showed where it had come from. Deputies approached slowly, weapons drawn, hearts pounding. Inside the car, the air held the kind of stillness investigators recognized instantly, the kind that told them nothing here ended the way it was supposed to. Hours earlier, Gary and Linda Lightfoot had been smiling around a Thanksgiving table, laughing with their family, refusing extra slices of pie, promising they'd be home before it gets too late. They were familiar with the route, flat Texas road, a straight shot home. They had driven it hundreds of times. But somewhere along the way, they vanished. The investigation moved fast. Drones swept wide corridors across the rugged New Mexico terrain. Search teams fanned out, tracing faint tire impressions that seemed to appear, then disappear entirely. Something wasn't adding up. Not the distance, not the direction, not the eerie stillness surrounding the scene. When detectives opened the car doors, they found the couple inside, lifeless. No signs of a crash, no signs of impact, no sign of a struggle, just an unsettling calm, as if time had simply stopped around them. A chilling question spread among investigators. How did an experienced, familiar drive turn into a fatal detour across hundreds of empty miles? The family insisted they must have got turned around, but detectives knew there had to be more, a reason behind the sudden wrong turn, a moment that forced them off their intended route, something that pushed them into the middle of nowhere. When a deputy circled the rear of the vehicle, he noticed something odd. The trunk latch had deep scratches along its metal lip, as if someone had tried to pry it open. And beside the trunk, half buried in the dirt, was one single object that made his stomach drop. A worn leather wallet, but not Gary's. And when detectives opened it, the name on the ID belonged to someone who shouldn't have been anywhere near that ranch. Someone who had been reported missing 3 weeks earlier. Detectives on the scene exchanged uneasy glances. The leather wallet, belonging to a missing local man named Raymond or Ray Holloway, raised immediate alarm bells. Ray had vanished nearly 3 weeks before the Lightfoot's disappearance, and his case had gone cold after the initial search yielded nothing. How did his ID end up in the middle of New Mexico, far from his home, and even farther from any logical route? Every clue now pointed to a strange, tangled connection that no one could explain. Forensic teams dusted the vehicle for fingerprints. They found only one set, Gary's, and faint smudges near the trunk that weren't identifiable. No signs of forced entry beyond the scratches, no footprints around the car that could definitively belong to anyone else. Family members were questioned again, but no one had seen or heard anything unusual after the Lightfoots left their Thanksgiving gathering. Their son, Thomas, grew pale recounting the final conversation. He sounded perfectly normal. Mom even joked about taking the scenic route home because Dad was sleepy. But the scenic route didn't make sense, not toward New Mexico. Meanwhile, the discovery of the wallet sent a ripple through local law enforcement. Could someone have lured the Lightfoots off their route? Or was this merely a coincidence, a cruel twist of fate linking two unrelated disappearances? Detectives were unwilling to take chances. They dug deeper into travel records, GPS data from nearby highway cameras, and interviews with ranchers along the sparse route. Slowly, a story began to emerge, one of confusion, fear, and possible foul play. One rancher recalled seeing a silver Toyota Camry idling near a junction late on Thanksgiving night, seeming aimless. He remembered a man stepping out, checking something in the trunk, and then disappearing into the darkness. The possibility of an encounter, accidental or intentional, now loomed large. Investigators theorized that the couple, disoriented and without cell phones, might have stopped after becoming lost, inadvertently wandering into someone else's path. But if so, why had there been no struggle, and how did the wallet get there? As night fell, a search of the surrounding area yielded another shocking find. A small, unmarked building hidden among mesquite trees, nearly invisible from the road. Its windows were dark, the door hanging slightly ajar. Inside, scattered papers, a faded map of the highways, and a set of tire tracks that matched the Lightfoot's car. But most disturbing of all was a series of photographs tacked to the wall, snapshots of the Lightfoots taken from afar, moments from the day of their disappearance. Someone had been watching them. Detectives felt a chill that went beyond the cold New Mexico night. This was no longer a simple wrong turn. Someone had anticipated their route, had followed them, and now, somehow, the couple was dead. And then a phone call came in. The voice on the line was distorted, anxious. It belonged to a witness claiming to have seen a figure leaving the ranch that night. The most terrifying detail? The person was carrying a bag that looked suspiciously like the one now missing from the Lightfoot's car.
The investigation had escalated from a tragic story of disorientation to a deadly puzzle filled with unknown motives, silent watchers, and the creeping sense that nothing about this night had been accidental. The detective in charge rubbed his eyes, staring at the photographs on the wall. If this is true, we're not just looking for a missing couple anymore, he murmured. We're looking for a predator who planned this all along. And then, buried under the scattered maps and papers, a note appeared, scrawled hastily in handwriting that made their blood run cold. They should never have left home. The note sent a ripple through the investigation. Detectives now treated the scene not as a tragic accident, but as a calculated crime. Every detail, the abandoned Camry, the mysterious wallet, the hidden building, the surveillance photographs, hinted at premeditation. The Lightfoot's deaths were no longer a misfortune, they were the product of a sinister plan. Investigators scoured the surrounding area with renewed intensity. Drones flew overhead, officers traced tire marks in the dirt, and forensic teams collected soil and vegetation samples around the car. In the trunk, something new appeared, a small bundle wrapped in oilcloth. Inside were receipts from gas stations along the route the Lightfoots should never have taken, and a map with hand-drawn arrows directing them farther into isolation. It became chillingly clear someone had tracked them, left misleading signs, and guided them to their final location. But why? The breakthrough came when detectives returned to the wallet found near the car. Handwriting experts analyzed the scrawled ID inside and confirmed what they had feared. The wallet didn't belong to Ray Holloway. It had been forged to implicate him. Ray, they realized, had nothing to do with this. Someone had deliberately manipulated the investigation to confuse law enforcement and delay the search. Then came a call from a nearby gas station attendant. The attendant remembered seeing the Lightfoots hours before their disappearance. They were not alone. A man had approached them, politely offering directions when they hesitated at a junction. Surveillance footage confirmed it. A tall, dark-haired figure, face obscured by a scarf, guiding the couple down a road leading deep into ranch land. The person lingered long enough to make it appear casual, but the evidence now suggested otherwise. Armed with this new lead, detectives tracked cell phone pings from nearby ranch houses. One property stood out, a remote compound surrounded by barbed wire. Inside, they discovered a room meticulously arranged to monitor traffic along nearby highways. Binoculars, cameras, and even a logbook noting vehicle license plates. Among the pages, a single entry was circled in red. Silver Toyota, expected 11:30 p.m. The pieces fit together. The Lightfoots had been watched. They had been led to this remote area by someone who had studied their habits, their routines, their weaknesses. They had never stood a chance once they left their Thanksgiving gathering. Forensics finally confirmed the cause of death: accidental hypothermia compounded by exhaustion and dehydration, likely exacerbated by confusion and disorientation induced by stress and possibly fear. There was no direct violence, yet the predator's manipulation had been lethal. In the weeks that followed, the investigation revealed the man behind it all, a reclusive local with a history of stalking and obsession. He had never intended to harm the couple physically, but his calculated interference, the forced detour into harsh terrain, and the isolation had been enough. Family and friends struggled to process the paradox. The Lightfoots' deaths were both natural and criminal, a horrific combination of human malice and tragic circumstance. The final, haunting detail came in the last photo found at the hidden ranch. The predator had photographed them as they slept in their car, unaware of the danger waiting just yards away. A final message, scrawled beneath the photo, chilled the investigators to the bone. They thanked me for the ride. The Lightfoot story became a stark reminder. Sometimes the darkest crimes aren't brutal in a physical sense, but in how human curiosity, manipulation, and obsession can turn an ordinary trip into a fatal labyrinth. The screen fades to black. If you thought the story ended here, think again. Remember, the world is watching, and sometimes someone is always watching you.